I'm so torn. I'm really torn. The kids is a full stop no to me. Like
Okay.
full stop no. Where I'm torn is I am a freedom maximalist.
Right.
Like in the truest sense of the word. So long as you're not infringing on other people's freedoms and other people's safety. I don't necessarily want to live in a place where government tells me what I can and can't do with my body. And I think, I mean, there's always that other option, and that's always existed. And this just seems like a cleaner alternative to someone who's in a ton of pain. Like and I'm not talking
If you're in
about
a ton of
depression.
pain.
Yeah, I'm not talking depression, right? Like we should offer those people like compassion and other forms of treatment, right? It shouldn't be like, here's this, bye-bye. Like that, I don't think that is the right thing at all. But I also don't want it necessarily to be fully illegal, I guess. I don't know. But then again, you have the slippery slope. So I just lost my train of thought.
So let me give you an example. Liz Carr brought this up to me. It helped me shift my perspective a little bit because I could see it through her eyes. So Liz Carr is a disabled actress from the UK. She's been in Loki and Omen and all of these. I had no idea when I met her. She was like, yeah, I'm an actress. Look me up. I was like, okay, girl. And anyway, she's wonderful. She's wheelchair bound. She was born with a certain disorder where I think it's like her bones didn't develop quite accurately. So she is a quite tiny, fragile female. But oh my God, she is a badass. So she goes, look, Kelsie, let me reframe it for you. Because I was very much the exact same as you. And she goes, the UK doesn't have this yet. And this is why we're fighting this. Once a bill goes into place, you don't get to decide what's amended and walks through. That's the concern. And so, yes, and I'm in full agreement. Over 18,
Terminally ill.
You have every right to end your life. And I believe that
and the
is
fact that
compassionate.
it's not legal in some, I think we have a handful of states where it's legal. And if you've ever had a grandparent or great grandparent that had dementia or Alzheimer's, it's a ton of pain. They're not there anyways. I right now in Sound of Mind, I can tell you if I'm in my 80s, 90s, whatever, and that happens to me, like please, help me out. And Jordan Peterson did answer a question. It was one of these panels that he did, and it was him and his wife Tammy, and I think it was like someone in the crowd had submitted, what do you think about MAID? And of course it's Jordan Peterson, so it was a 20-minute answer, but it's worth the answer. It's very emotional. It's very vulnerable. And he explains how when he was really sick that in the thick of it, he's like, I can't do this for another day. And he doesn't necessarily give a binary answer, of course, but it is what he alluded to, or my perception of his answer was that back in the day, if you had grandma that was really sick or someone with cancer, the doctor would maybe prescribe or induce like some kind of painkiller, and then they would fall asleep and not wake up. And he said that burden had to weigh on that individual and the family, and it was this very intimate decision. And he seemed to be okay with that. But I think the mass rollout and kind of the commercialization is where he seems to be not so on board, which I understand. But I guess that way, when that was the norm, you had to kind of nudge to get someone out of pain. That didn't seem right to me at all. Because I'm like, how are you making that illegal? And again, if we do it for our dogs and our horses, why can't you do it for someone who's terminally ill? And it's just unfortunate that everything kind of has to get bastardized, and you have something that could be good and helpful, and you start wanting to make more money instead of caring about people. And I think that that's what's happening.
That's the concern, right? And Canada has had this since 2016, right? Carter versus Canada. She came forward. It was a British Columbia woman. And she says, I want to be able to die on my own terms. And she challenged the courts and she won. And that's when it started to become legal. But after that, we saw this really rapid uptick. Really scary.
So would you have a different opinion if there was a certain protocol? So let's say you go in and you have debilitating depression and like truly debilitating. And
I've had
But what if they say you have to go to counseling, you have to do psychedelic treatment at MAPS, you have to do it for 2 years, sign up for 2 years, and then that is a last resort. Does that change anything?
I think part of the problems is the protocols that are in place are not sufficient, even a little bit, and they are borderline a framework at best. The individuals that are pushing it have no clue what they're saying. You can do it with a nurse practitioner. You don't need a specialist. You don't need a doctor. You need a nurse practitioner, which I get they are also trained, but you are not a doctor, and that's okay. I just think there's always going to be people that will take advantage of these situations. And part of the problem is if we allow things to open more, there's always going to be dark motives and evil motives that come in, and we're seeing it. Here's my thing. When people say they have debilitating depression, by definition, I am diagnosed with treatment-resistant depression. I've been suicidal. I was for 7 years straight. Suicide attempt, like you name it, I've been there. They labeled me with post-traumatic stress disorder, major depressive disorder, treatment-resistant depression, and I had postpartum after my son. So then I'm a full candidate. Hearing loss, I'm a candidate. Neurodivergent because of a traumatic brain injury, I'm a candidate. So
neurodivergency is
yeah. So there was a man that was killed. He was depressed and was neurodivergent, fully functional, living on his own, and he had hearing loss. And so he was a candidate. Do you see what I mean? So there isn't the line for me, and I've really sat with this because this is a hard one. You're talking about people's lives. And what I've concluded for me personally is if you are not terminally ill, foreseeable death, meaning painful, excruciating, nobody should have to live through that, and you're not over the age of 18, we're not having the same conversation. It is going to be abused, full stop. I think psychedelic assisted therapy is one of the best ways to alleviate the end-of-life anxiety. So I'm one of 160 Canadians that has legal and regulated access to regulated psilocybin. I had to go through the special access program, which is extensive and time-consuming and financially crazy. And most people who are terminally ill cannot go through it. And they turn down over 90% of candidates. Their answer to me before giving me mushrooms was, what about electroshock therapy?
They thought that was better?
And the only reason I did not have to do that before I was given access to psilocybin was because I had a traumatic brain injury. And when we told them that, wait, it gets better, they said, if she throws an epileptic fit, it's okay, she'll be unconscious and we'll manage it. When you have electroshock therapy, it is a non-invasive lobotomy that they cannot control what it kills.
I thought that was illegal.
No, it's one of Canada's solutions to major depressive disorder.
Is it legal in the States? Do you know?
I'm not sure about that, but I would assume in certain cases. But for treatment-resistant depression, so when somebody says, I'm debilitatingly depressed, well, I've been there and you can heal.
Oh my gosh.
You just absolutely can.